Our little town is 1,800 people here on the Ohio River. We're about an hour east of Cincinnati. We have a drugstore on the corner up there and some restaurants, a couple of taverns. Ripley's not a big business town like it used to be. We had a Kroger at one time. My grandfather was the Kroger manager. It's what my family did, worked in the Kroger store here.
Ripley was officially founded in the year 1812. It was founded by a man named Colonel James Pogue, who received 1,000 acres for his service during the Revolutionary War. He received some acreage because he was a colonel, he was an officer, and also he had been a surveyor for the government. And our country was running out of money and couldn't pay all of their soldiers in money, so they paid them in land. And Ripley is located in what is a part of the Virginia Military District, lands that our government set aside to be used just for that purpose, for giving privates and officers land instead of money for their service during our American Revolution.
As time has gone on, it's become more of a tourist and kind of a retirement area, really. We have one gas station in town now, and no place to buy clothes or anything like that. We do have a lot of bars. That's one of the few things that's really withstood time in Ripley. We've had a lot of people move in and retire and fix the place up. And it really is a nice looking small town now and a great place to grow up and retire to.
We were very important on the Underground Railroad back in the pre-Civil War days. A Presbyterian minister here in town named John Rankin was the unofficial president of the Underground Railroad. Underground Railroad, kind of a play on words, meaning that it was a secret society that helped runaway slaves escape. Kentucky's right across the river here. And if they could make it across, get to Rankin's house, he would hide them and give them food and shelter and see that they eventually got to Canada, where slavery was illegal. Became quite a well-known person. Died at the age of 93 and he's buried here in the Ripley Cemetery.
Rankin House, along with another home of an Underground Railroad conductor, the John Parker House, are National Historic Landmarks. That designation was given to both sites in 1997. National Historic Landmark designation is the highest designation our federal government can give to a historic site. It means the people that lived there or the events that took place have significance throughout the United States, not just in our state of Ohio, but across America. Rankin tells us that over about a 40-year period, he and his family aided roughly 2,000 fugitive slaves passing through this farm setting. And he, by all accounts, was a modest man. He wasn't a boastful person, but he took a lot of pride when he made this statement, and he said, "I never lost a passenger." What he's referring to is that fugitive slaves in the care of this family were never caught by their owners or by bounty hunters and taken back into slavery, and he was quite proud of that accomplishment. Through Rankin's autobiography, we know of 3 hiding places for certain where he and his family hid slaves. 2 here at the house, the attic, and the cellar. If you go upstairs into the 2nd story, at the top of the stairs there's a landing, and on either side of the landing are 2 doorways to the attic area. The 3rd place where the family hid slaves was in a large barn that is no longer standing. We do know the barn had a wooden floor and a trap door or a secret door in the floor, and underneath that, dirt dug out where several people could hide if necessary.
the people here didn't cooperate with the slave hunters. They broke the law, actually, in helping the slaves escape. And as far as I know, Rankin never lost a fugitive. John Parker was a freed man. He was an Alabama family owned him, and he purchased his own freedom. I think it was a doctor in Alabama. Parker saved his money and purchased his own freedom, and the doctor taught him how to read and write, and he was very intelligent. Parker eventually found his way to Cincinnati and then Ripley, and he was in the iron foundry business. He made farm implements out of iron. A lot of these old iron fences we see around town here were made in Parker's foundry shop down there, and he put them up. Anyway, he worked with Rankin and the Reverend Alexander Campbell, two other abolitionists that lived here in Ripley. He worked with them, helping slaves escape. And since he was black and a freed slave, he risked his neck each time he did that. Very courageous man.
Ripley, being on the Ohio River, has had several major floods, damaging floods throughout the year. Two of the most devastating floods in Ripley were the 1913 flood and the 1937 flood. Many old-timers talk of, during these devastating floods, seeing houses just floating down the middle of this wide Ohio River and barns and sheds tipped on their sides. So it was a very interesting time and a very difficult time. One of the historic homes on Front Street, the Stivers-Zachman home, was actually raised after the 1913 flood. It sat on ground level, as do all the other houses on the street on the river. And after the 1913 flood, the homeowner and his family continues to occupy this lovely home, decided he had to figure out a way to avoid flooding but remain in his beautiful house. And so he had the means to have his house physically raised. His house was elevated, I think like 7 feet 9 inches, something like that. And so again, while all of his neighbors on Front Street during the 1937 flood had flood water in the second story of their homes, this homeowner only had a few feet in the first floor of their house. For a lot of our visitors, Ripley is a great day trip or a weekend destination. There's lots to see and do. We have 4 museums. We have historic walking tours, lots of interesting shopping, and some very nice places to eat, especially along the Ohio River. Welcome you to our historic town. We'll take you back in time, but we'll also tell you about our future.